Dr. Lewis Creed and his wife Rachel relocate from Boston to rural Maine with their 2 young children. The couple soon discover a mysterious burial ground hidden deep in the woods near their new home.
Hello one, hello all, welcome to this episode of Brit and Twit. I am CP.
And I'm Emily, the other
Twit.
one. Yep.
And we're here with a little bit of a late review for Pet Sematary. We're behind.
Cable trouble.
Yeah, you don't care by now, but here it is. 2019's Pet Sematary.
Do you like our background?
Oh yeah, this. Move your head so that they can see that it's...
That's a cat, all right.
Yep. First things first, the story. A lot of hubbub not made up. There was a lot of controversy surrounding the marketing. The second trailer gave away quite a bit of the film. There was a bit of a switcheroo. We're going to go ahead with the mentality that you at least know the book or the 1989 film. So I guess this is a soft spoiler warning, but we'll try to backload the specific to this movie spoilers. But the story.
So yeah, they have this neighbor,
Judd
something, who's very mysterious about the burial ground that's near their home, telling them at first not to go there. But with the death of the family pet, he decides to take Lewis up there anyway, and it's revealed that anything that's buried there comes back, but not quite the same.
The 2019 Pet Sematary, what did you like about the story?
What I liked was that it was very easy to follow. I think if you took out all the spoken dialogue and it was just a silent movie, you'd be able to tell perfectly well what was going on. And I don't know if that means the cinematography was good, the dialogue was pretty basic, or if it's just because I've seen the first movie already, but...
Yeah, it's if you have knowledge of the book or the original movie, it's all but impossible to not make comparisons. I've never experienced this constant comparison. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I watched the original. Never did I come close to the comparisons I'm doing with Pet Sematary. Friday the 13th, didn't compare it nearly as much as this, but it's impossible to not think about things and make comparisons to either the book or the original film.
Yeah. Although the story is quite similar, the way it kind of folds out is quite different, and the movie's aesthetic is different as well, so...
What I liked about the story was there was a bunch of, a handful of different things from what, a fan, somebody who's familiar with the original or book. There's a couple of subversions, and I liked it. There was a bunch of potential that I was kind of on board for. Whether or not that's followed through is a different story. I mean, it's a remake. It's a adaptation from a book that we're all familiar with, but it does feel different. For better or worse, there's enough of it that's different to say, all right, well, this, it's not Van Sant's Psycho. That's for certain.
Some things turn up from the book that weren't in the original film adaptation, but
Right.
as you say, there were some subversions, which would have been better if the trailer hadn't spoiled them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, amongst other things. So Pascal is a large role in the film, not the book. That gets reduced. Again, Victor Pascal isn't as big a deal. He's not as important in this film, which is fine.
A little bit racist, don't you think?
Why?
As soon as they turn him into a black guy, they're not interested in him.
we can cast a black guy, but we're going to have to reduce the role.
I also thought his brains hanging out weren't as realistic in this new one, oddly enough. They just look kind of pasted on.
Yeah. Good to see the guy from Captain Phillips getting work still.
So I guess Zelda's role is kind of played up a little bit more. Oddly enough, I don't think the wife talks about it as much. It's more sort of shown than told.
Yeah, I feel like this is something where they're kind of resting on the laurels of 30 years of influence, pop culture. Like Zelda's a huge deal in the original, and like if not one of the scariest things about the original. And it's almost like they're like, all right, let's play that up.
They were keeping her in their back pocket for a bit.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. They make it seem like they don't explain a lot of stuff with her, and it's just kind of like, huh, Zelda.
Yeah.
Look, it's Zelda, guys.
I kind of missed the speech that Rachel has from the original movie.
Yeah.
was kind of like a ghost story. It was an added level of creepiness.
Yeah.
Almost.
So the story here is very kind of, I don't want to say drab, but there's no melodrama to it. It's if the original is one thing, it's peaks and valleys with the way they're telling the story. The acting is out there, the story's out there. But when it's miserable, it's miserable. This is just kind of down the middle, I feel like. Kudos to them for hiring a female cinematographer and not making that big a deal of it.
No, he's a dude.
No, it's Laurie Rose.
No, it's a guy. I think he won a BAFTA or something.
Couldn't let a female be the cinematographer of this movie?
Nope.
Something that I can say about the cinematography in the original film is it's very straightforward. There's no real...
Quite flat lighting, would you say?
Yeah, for the most part. The color grading is pretty straightforward. It doesn't try to influence anything with lighting or color palette again.
In the new film, it's kind of dingy and it's like bleak sunshine constantly.
Yeah, that gray tinge is on it. It's very modern horror. Cinematography is noticeably different, better. There's red is a strong theme in this movie. There's a shot that
It's very Sixth Sense, isn't it?
Yeah. Once you notice the color red in this movie, it's all over the place, right down to a just overt. There's a scene where Lewis is in a car waiting at a red light, and he's just bathed in the reflection of that red light, and a little over the top, but I'd rather them be over the top with the cinematography stuff than not. There's nothing really, other than the use of red, there's nothing really that jumps out about the cinematography.
Yeah, it feels a lot like every other modern day horror film I've seen.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So Cody and I have talked about, over on his channel, a big 2-hour spoiler stream, we talked about the major death in this movie. Great big deal in the original movie, shot with a giant mirror. Everything was done practically in the original, and for the 2019 version, they get further away from that major truck scene. It's not head on like the original. As a matter of fact, it's like an overhead shot in CGI. It's just
Yeah.
why?
It felt kind of like a Final Destination death.
Yeah.
Like, we saved the baby, but oh no.
Yeah, it feels like they were trying for shock with certain stuff, and like I never thought the original Pet Sematary was something like shocking. It was just horrifying. Like
They did have a couple scenes, like the hair brushing scene.
yeah, but like that's not cinematography or anything. It's just
That's more sound design than anything. There were a couple Dutch angles, and they did that thing where they slightly move around a handheld, which I'm not really a fan of.
Yeah, I can you just get everybody start a Patreon for every studio to just have fucking tripods. Like this handheld thing, for a shot, for a emotion is one thing, but this constant like
Yeah, the slightly making you seasick thing. Yeah.
I'm over it. The people that brought you Starry Eyes, go ahead, pronounce those names. Kolsch, and Widmer?
Kulsch, if that's an
Yeah, it's
the Kevin Kulsch and Dennis Widmeyer,
right.
I believe.
Lee swears by Starry Eyes, which they directed. I don't know who gets the credit, because the Wendigo are a big deal with the book, and they're mentioned a little bit more than the original film.
Yeah, we even get to see one, don't we?
But do we? Just a picture in a book.
No, it's a shadow with horns when he's approaching the burial ground.
Whether or not it's credit towards the writing or the direction, there are things that are introduced that are new and different. But I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm curious to see if things have been edited out, because there's a couple of things that I felt like were introduced in the story, the movie, that kind of don't really go anywhere. I guess we'll get to that with spoilers. The acting, I would say, in the original is interesting, melodramatic.
In this one, it's more grounded in reality, kind of.
Right. And the thing that I would say about the original, the performance that weighs down, that is the anchor of the original film is Fred Gwynne
As Judd,
as
yeah.
Judd. And this film, I feel like it's the exact opposite. I feel like
he at least has face validity. You look at him and you'd see someone who probably has lived his whole life in Maine, and he seems like that kind of guy.
Can you? With that accent of his?
To me, well, it's less. This is something I wanted to mention, that the Maine accent is kind of lacking, and
Yes.
Yes. In the original movie, I felt when they moved to the new place, this strange accent kind of added to the strangeness of the whole experience. So Fred Gwynne as Judd with that heavy accent, and he's kind of a gentle giant. He's more memorable, I think.
Well, he's also like, when he delivers lines, he almost has it in like I don't want to say like a sing-songy kind of fashion, but he says things and it's like you pay attention because it's the things he's saying are cryptic and poetic, and it just doesn't translate here. John Lithgow, for as much as I enjoy the actor, like I was expecting a bit more, and I don't know, everything's just kind of down the middle. Jason Clarke does a decent enough job. It's just I don't know. Just again down the middle. Safe, I guess. Safe is the best way to put it. Like,
I guess so. I think I kind of believe that grief in this one. It's not quite as over the top and terrible. Like a coffin gets knocked over in the original, which is kind of silly.
Yeah, melodramatic, over the top. Jason Clarke, he does a lot of acting with his eyes, which is hard to.
He looked like he had allergies.
Yeah. It's hard to, if you're not really looking for it, eyes looking for it, it can pass people by. But like, I felt that he was in it with his eyes at least, which I forgot where I read it, heard it, saw it, but they say if an actor can get you believing their emotion using only their eyes, then they're doing things well. And I bought that he was stressed, in pain, but it didn't get much further than that.
The child acting is better in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, they got an older child who gets slightly more focus, I would say.
Yeah, quite a bit more focus, sure. And more lines. That's.
Oh yeah.
It's not like, it's not God's cat, it's my cat.
Yeah. So I liked Ellie in this. Gage didn't get as much focus, and I'm kind of glad of that. I don't like creepy babies in movies. And it was kind of interesting that they had a child who had the power of speech, as it were.
Huh?
Like Gage talked, but it was mostly baby talk, whereas in this one, the child we're following the whole time, can ask questions and stuff, and that's, I don't know, that opens up more story elements.
The child acting's an improvement. So like for the cons of the original, they compensated and corrected it for this, but the counter of it is in the original, and vice versa, if you think there's something missing from the original as far as acting is concerned. So the music is a big deal in the original. You start off with young girls or children, I don't know what you call that, la 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 shit, but
chanting, creepy choir.
Just haunting, creepy choir. There it is. That's a subgenre. That, and like, that's scary and haunting, and the piano stuff when it's kind of miserable really hammers the point home. This movie, I can't tell you if there was a score.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. The only thing I really remember is the end credits music.
But that was a cover of a Ramones song. Yeah, the score is just a non-factor to me. And that, I don't know if that's, a comparison thing where it's just, I can tell you notes from the original. I can't tell you anything about the score. Like it didn't assist any scene. It didn't carry any scene. I'm telling you, I literally, if you told me there was no score, I'd be like,
it seems legit.
Mm-hmm.
Jinx.
So we'll do our scores really quick before we get into the deep spoilers.
Mm-hmm. I would give it about a 5, maybe lower.
Out of 10.
Out of 10, yeah, not out of 5.
2.5. A letterboxed 2.5.
Oh yeah,
maybe
really?
lower.
Well, it wasn't deplorable. It was okay, but I wouldn't say it was very, very good. It's just kind of fair to middling.
Yeah. My score, a 2.5 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
For very similar reasons. It's strange that in a weekend where this and Shazam came out, Shazam was an afterthought. I was just like, well, we're already at the theater, might as well.
And we ended up finding it much more enjoyable.
Right. It could be hype. It could be the fact that we had to wait a whole extra day. So, I don't know about you, but I've been looking forward to this for a while. So, expectations and
hype
might play into the fact that it just didn't match it.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer the original.
Yeah. If this new one was on TV, I might watch it, but I wouldn't get too mad if someone turned it off either. Yeah,
I'm curious to see if there's extra stuff, special features, deleted scenes on the home. I'm curious to watch it again, especially if there's stuff that I know was cut out, because it's short. It's just at I think 90 minutes, like on the nose. It's the third act moves quickly, and I remember thinking, why are we moving so fast? Do they know there's another show starting? Like what? Why are we moving so quickly? Why are things getting rushed? Which pacing I usually, I give a movie credit for moving quickly. This, it just felt like, what's happening? So I'm curious to see if there's stuff that was cut out, and if there's things that they touched on that they kind of give a bit more life to. But until the Batman vs Superman Snyder cut comes out, it's a 2.5 from both of us.
There you have it. Okay, spoilers.
Spoilers.
So in case you hadn't figured it out from what we've been saying, Ellie is the one who gets offed in this one, and I feel there are some advantages to this. Like, we get to hear Ellie talk. She questions the fact that she is dead, which her father lies about, and she's generally unsatisfied with things, and so she's quite understandably upset. You understand it more from her point of view rather than just a generic, Gabe has come back and he's a little demon child just because.
Gage.
Did I say Gabe?
You said Gabe.
Oh.
There's a bit of irony to the fact that, it's nice that they lean into the fact that she's afraid of death, and have her die so quickly, and like you said, question things when she's dead.
I don't even know if she's afraid of death, because...
the original. I might be thinking of the original.
So in this one, her mother doesn't really want to let her know about the reality of death. Her mother wants to hide the death of Church from her, and so I get the feeling she's never had the talk.
They outright avoid it.
Yeah.
Because another thing, Lewis outright is an atheist in this movie. Like, they have a conversation in the original where he says, I'd like to think that something happens, something like that. And this, he's like, I don't remember.
Completely the other way.
Yeah, he outright says, I don't believe in
the
that.
parents are kind of arguing in front of their kid about, what's going to happen to Church after he dies. And you get the sense they've never even discussed it amongst themselves. Like, what are we going to teach our kids about death? Like, they just avoid the issue.
Right.
And when Ellie comes back, she sort of knows, and you get the feeling this fuels her anger somewhat, which is interesting.
Right. But again, this is one of those missed opportunities where, for a couple of minutes, once she comes back from the dead, she plays straight, legit. I don't know what to call it, but she's not a crazed zombie. She's he's combing her hair. She's
excruciatingly.
Yeah, it seems like my zombie daughter for a little bit, and like I was intrigued by that. Like, oh, what are they going to do with this? Like, this is a fun little take on this.
Yeah.
How can
You
they...
figured they'd be like trying to send her to school.
Right, right. Oh, yeah, she was fine. It was just a bad scrape. Anyway. So.
Yeah, and then after a while, she turns into...
Not a while. It's the next day. She
starts kicking and screaming, and they speed up the film, and it's like she turns into a Resident Evil creature zombie thing.
Yeah, after that vigorous dance that she does in the...
She puts her filthy clothes back on, and she starts, stomping around, smashing beloved family portraits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was going somewhere interesting, and then it descended into generic evil kid. Mm-hmm. Like something from Case 39 or something. I should be able to think of a better film with an evil kid, but that's the one that comes to mind.
I've never seen Case 39.
It's Renee Zellweger adopts this child whose parents have tried to kill her, not knowing that she's a demon spawn.
Okay.
She's played by the same girl who was in Silent Hill.
Okay.
So yeah, she's basically a brat. And this was the same thing with Ellie. She was just, I don't know, not particularly interesting. Mm-hmm. She also gains some knowledge which she shouldn't have been able to. Like, she knows about Zelda somehow.
Well, she might know. I mean, that could be something that you're just supposed to assume, that, knowing that her mom, or how much she knows
things about Zelda and her mother's feelings towards Zelda that Rachel never really communicated.
Yeah, and that could be another thing where it's just like...
It's another thing missing from the speech in the original film, where Rachel says, I wish Zelda was dead, and I hated her, and in this, Ellie kind of coerces it out of her, so it's been taken from that speech and given to Ellie for some reason.
Judd is... There's a thing that happens... Our introduction to Judd is really strange. Mm-hmm. He doesn't save Gage out of the street, which, a friendly neighbor thing that he does in the original. Here, it's borderline creepy. Like,
I didn't get that vibe.
Really?
Not really. He tells Ellie to get off the mound that leads to the burial ground, and she cuts her knee, and he puts some healing mud on it.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, but it's not the same. It doesn't have the same feel to it. And then who is it? Is it Lewis that stumbles?
Yeah, he's the
it?
next one on the scene.
Yeah, there's just this shady kind of, why are you rubbing dirt on my daughter kind of thing. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just modern.
I've seen some people online that have had this theory, and that, Judd has got wicked designs on the daughter or something.
Oh, like sexual.
Something like that, yeah. And it turns out he did something bad in the past, something about his wife.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
That's not followed through.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, Judd is a neighborly, grandfather type figure in the original, and I just don't have that here. He almost comes off as nefarious to me because he doesn't tell Lewis what's happening when they bury the cat. Just like, oh, we'll take it somewhere else. Like you could even have like a throwaway line where he says something like, "Oh well, the little kids with the procession aren't here, so we can't bury it there. It's bad mojo for the."
That would have been a good idea. Very good idea.
That's the other thing. Tell me why those kids are even a thing.
To be creepy.
No, they'll play the drums and wear masks. Cool.
It's for the trailer.
Yeah, fucking.
Dung, 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 dung.
And they're marketing they had the wheelbarrow kid and all this other, the masks.
The mask thing comes back once when Ellie breaks into Judd's house.
Right.
But can't talk today.
The kids just...
Yep, they're never seen again, pretty much.
You would think it was a big deal. This fucking... I hate marketing. I really hate marketing these days. Mm-hmm. But it's something that's not in the movie. Not that it's not in the movie. It just is there because, movie. Mm-hmm. And the housemaid character is completely taken out. Mm-hmm. No better, no worse. Just gone completely. That
wasn't Judd's wife?
No, that was the...
Oh.
Going to get his nuts cut.
Yeah, I remember her. I just figured...
She was their maid. Or, whatever. Doing the laundry and...
Was he not upset when she hung herself? Hanged herself?
Yeah. That was Stephen King at the funeral. He was the priest at her funeral.
Yes, who could forget Stephen King?
But yeah, they put these little things in that it's like a neat idea where it's like, all right, well, what are you going to do with this? And then nothing.
Yeah, he's kind of furtive in this one. Church comes back and Lewis is all like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. Church is back? Well, that's good. Ellie will be pleased. It's that...
Who's furtive?
Judd.
Oh.
About the burial process. He doesn't, like you said, he doesn't give any hint of what's going to happen.
Yeah, in the original, again, you get this sense he's like, oh, I mean, Judd does ask him, oh, she's going to be devastated about her cat, right? Where it's just kind of like, all right, well, we can do something about that. Where the original, it's just like, I know you don't want her to go through this, so I might have something that would fix this. And then Lewis gets the, what did we just do tonight? Again, that's the original. What did we just do tonight? And then you get the cryptic sing-songiness of Fred Gwynn. You just don't have that here. Judd is just unremarkable.
Yeah,
without remark. I'm whelmed with Judd.
I think Zelda was scarier in the original. I mean, for one thing, Zelda was played by a grown-ass dude, so yeah. I don't know if Zelda was always meant to be a child. I remember her being quite short in the original, at least when she was delivering the never get out of bed again line, which she doesn't even talk in this one, as far as I remember. She's just kind of zombieing around.
The logistics of her death are anything but. She falls down a dumb waiter because if she can't walk or move, how does she what?
So she got out of bed. So
and worked her way up to a dumb waiter and fell in?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be slightly more traumatic than... I don't know, it depends. In the original, she's kind of choking and reaching for Rachel, and there's nothing she can do, and Rachel kind of wants her to die, and it's all very complicated.
It's more painful, too. You get the... I mean, it's kind of a flashback, so it's told through Rachel's perspective and her...
We see her ghastly pallor and...
Right.
Yeah.
This, it's just a scare in this, like, oh.
And it's meant to make it feel more like it was Rachel's fault, because she's not supposed to be using the dumb waiter.
Yeah.
Like, you killed Zelda. There's a lot of that in this film.
You felt compassion for Rachel because, she shouldn't have been home watching her sick daughter and her sick sister. And this, it's just like, you don't have any compassion for anybody.
Yeah, you don't meet their parents who, again, shouldn't have let Rachel near a dying sister and kept her in the back room like a dirty secret. You don't see them.
Right, and you end up hating them more after Gage dies. But again...
Because they're such hypocrites.
Yeah, they're a non-factor here. They're an absolute non-factor. I think her parents are there, but I don't even think they have speaking roles. It's just strange that the things that the choices that were made. Again, I don't know if it's in the script or it's direction choices, but I'm really curious to see if some of this stuff had designs on being more fleshed out, because a lot of it's just like, well, why did you do that? This is a neat idea. The kids with the wheelbarrow. Why? Why?
This doesn't quite relate to the theme of lying, but I feel in this one they take a lot of the blame away from Lewis for some reason. Like, he does go and bury Ellie, but he doesn't go do his wife. I don't know, he's given more of a hands-off approach. He doesn't have to kill Church or Ellie in this one. None of it's really his fault, even though they make it out to be. I don't know, it just seems odd.
And the Wendigo aren't a thing.
They're not really a presence, no. You see them once, that's it.
Right. The theme of lying you brought up, noticeable just as much as the color red, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, right down to Ellie's name. She has these woodblock names, and the L is knocked over, where all you see standing up is lie. That was pretty early too, and I think I pointed that out and said lie, interesting.
So Rachel wants to shield Ellie from the realities of death, and when Church cops it. She's like, can we just pretend he ran away? Like, that's not going to be more traumatic in the long term. Like, when's Church coming back? I don't know, just, you got to bite the bullet sometimes. Judd lies about the burial ground at first.
He's outright deceptive, I would say. Lewis lies to Ellie and Judd about Ellie's death.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, no, honey, you just came from the hospital, you're fine.
Oh,
It's like,
right, yeah.
But she's got fucking staples in the back of her head. And Judd comes around saying, hey, what's up? Why are your fingernails so dirty? I'm hearing from you. And he's like, oh, no, nothing. You can't come in the house, but everything's fine.
There's not much foresight. If you bring in your daughter back, you're going to have to
Yeah, the neighbors are going to...
think that through a little bit. How do you explain,
Getting the kids in the car for school at 6 a.m.
Yeah. Shh, don't do that.
In the original movie, Rachel, in her speech to her husband, she admits that, she wished that Zelda would die to take away Zelda's pain, but also the pain of the family having to take care of her. She doesn't admit this. She kind of keeps quiet, keeps it all inside, until Ellie confronts her about it at the very end, saying, you hated Zelda, you wanted her dead. And yeah. So that's kind of a secret.
Yeah, well, yeah.
A lot of assigning blame in this one.
Well, yeah, and a little bit of deceit back to Judd when Ellie somehow is a...
So she goes, attacks him in his house.
And then does he imagine it's his wife? Like,
It's not very clear.
Yeah.
She's wearing a bunny mask or something, so we think it's Ellie under there. She takes it off. It's his wife all of a sudden.
Yeah. And you get the idea that he's responsible for her death, but they don't really go through with it.
Judd seems to know beforehand that humans are not supposed to be buried in that burial ground.
Right.
So maybe he put his wife there once. We don't know.
Right.
It's not really explored.
Big theme for the movie. A lot of, well, this is a thing, and I mean, if if you had no knowledge of the original movie, I'm curious. We should replace ourselves with Lindsay and see like what his take. I think he gave it a 1.5 out of 5.
Wow, really?
So yeah, the lack. I mean, knowing what we know about the original, I think helps this movie because we already have some pieces of the story just etched in.
They tease the stabbing of the ankle, don't they?
Yeah, a misdirection of sorts. They play on your knowledge of the original, and then they do it anyway. So it's just like what? Oh,
Yeah.
which a neat scene. Gage running into the street. If I didn't see the fucking trailer, knowing that Gage is in the street, and then he gets saved, that would have hit way harder if I didn't know that the daughter was.
I wonder if you would have worked it out based on how much they focused on Ellie before.
No, because that's similar. It's a similar theme, similar lines too. To Ellie in the original, it's toned down. It's not God's cat. It's my cat.
Yeah, you barely see Gage in this one.
Yeah.
Until there. I mean, he shows up at the end and he has his Pax cow line that went to Ellie before. So
Pascal is a lot bigger a deal in the original, and kind of like the tour guide of sorts for the story. And this isn't. More haunting than anything. I would say Pascal in the original is a scary, friendly ghost, where in this one he's just kind of scary, and then a non-factor for this second half of the movie.
Ideally, this film should have more Pascal, more Zelda, more of the Indiegogo, whatever. And yet...
Indiegogo?
Yeah. And instead it just kind of brushes them all off. They're barely featured. They're just something creepy to look at.
If you're going to omit some of that stuff, fill it up with other things like the Wendigo, with the kids with the fucking wheelbarrow, or have my zombie daughter for a good 25 minutes and him trying to pass her off as alive like that. You get dangerously close to it being like a stupid sitcom, like Small Wonder or something. But it's just to see what he would try to do, and again, kind of with the whole theme of lying. Yeah, how far would he go to try to keep her or fool people that everything's okay? There's just maybe 3 or 4 things in this movie where it's just like that's an idea that I'd like to see more of. Okay, but
yeah. And finally, the very, very ending, where somehow Ellie manages to drag her mother to the burial ground and she comes back within 5 minutes. So Lewis doesn't have to kill his wife. He doesn't make that same mistake of maybe this time it'll go better, maybe this time. So again, taking away some of the onus from him.
Well, that like you in the original, you get this. You're compassionate with the guilt, the dread that all of them feel. You really. You understand, like, this is just shitty luck that he has, and you can understand why he's doing the things he's doing.
Yeah, it's a movie about grief,
right,
and handling it really badly.
Right, and here I was last year with Hereditary, and finding out that Pet Sematary is going to remake. I was like, oh, if they kick it up to the Hereditary level, we could really have something special.
Yeah,
and the grief just really isn't a factor, if at all.
And at the end, we just have a zombie family. Yeah. Now what? And why would they even want to infect each other if they're not satisfied with being undead? Makes no sense to me.
Another thing that isn't followed through.
Yep.
So that's it. Again, 2.5s from both of us. My score, like I do plan on watching it again, and whether or not there's special, like deleted scenes or alternate endings, or
I bet they're saving it all for the DVD. Like, there's going to be a stop motion animation thing about the Wendigo.
Yeah, like if there's more to this movie, I'll give it the good old Snyder watch. If they're Batman and Supermaning this.
But why didn't they put it in the movie?
I'm telling you that runtime was tight. I don't know if something happened, if they screened it for a good old test audience. But until it gets announced for a home release and what is on that Blu-ray copy, I'm gonna say 2.5. That could change if there's other things that. Yeah, but no, you know what? No, we're scoring the movie that we were shown at the theater. It's a 2.5. For perspective, what would you give the original?
I'd give that about a 7, maybe more. I'd say the pacing is a little. It does.
Oh no, 7 is 3.5 out of 5.
You can do math.
So you were saying 7.
I would take away some points because it can be quite slow at times, and some of the moments are just too silly to take seriously. I don't know. That's just personal preference, though.
Yeah, I would give it a 4, maybe a 4.5. Nostalgic. It's if it's something. If we're scoring based on how often I watch something, and it's definitely a 4.5. But a conservative 4.
I just want to watch the original now.
Yeah. All right. So that's our Pet Sematary spoiler-ish review. That's our everything review. I don't know what's up next as far as us reviewing something.
Is there any horror coming out soon? Brightburn? Is that horror?
It could be. Yeah, just keep your eyes here. Sub to Emily's Adventures in Horrorland.
Thank you. Sub to this guy also.
Sub to PewDiePie.
We can't say that anymore.
Sure we can. Was it like the N-word now? Why can't we say that anymore?
Because the dude said it.
Oh.
So yeah.
Smash like and click that bell to get notified of more shit.
I dropped my notes.
I've been CP.
Have a day.